Hey ladies, how are you? It's so good to be back with you. I'll give you all a minute to settle in and I'll send some invitations here. I have missed you guys. Okay. Okay. So if you can see me, if you can hear me, let me know, say hi. I'm sure everything's working. I've got some funky lighting going on here, so let me know if that's distracting. So I just got on a roll with today's topic. I started typing it all out. Hi, Darla. Hi, Annabelle. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So hopefully I'm not blabbering too much. I didn't quite get through all of my preparation, so we'll see how this works. But yeah, I had a really great question for today. It was really inspiring. Hi. And so I'll just dive right in. As you know, I'm Leila Thomasone, love stylist and marriage alchemist. So whether you are new to see my videos or you know me well, I thank you and I appreciate you giving me a platform to help people have fulfilling marriages and family life. And of course, I want to help whether you are single or married. So don't hesitate to comment, ask questions, set a free intro session, say hi, make sure you're subscribed and all that as well. So how were your holidays? Hi, Darla. Oh, thank you. Look lovely, she says. I can hear you. Yay. So I had some wonderful trips and visits with family, and we stopped by to see my sister and her family and her 3 kids who are adorable. Then we surprised my kids with a concert in Miami. The girls had never been to anything like that, and it was huge. Niall Horan and the Jonas Brothers were both really, really great, and Khalid was good. All of them were really good. So we had a lot of time with Derek. Then he left after Christmas and came back New Year's Day. So the girls and I had some bonding time with another little trip for New Year's Eve. So I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year coming into this new decade in 2020. Have you made some resolutions, set some goals? What are your relationship goals? And as you know, your personal goals and self-development, your self-work are very much intertwined with improving your relationships. So we want to create vision boards and meditate on all the ways we can improve ourselves in every facet of our femininity, our hobbies, interests, pursuing our values, and elevating the community around us, friends and family, everything. So what I wanted to chat with you about today are those few remaining desires that you may still have some ickiness around, that you're feeling trepidatious about investing in yourself or indulging in some self-care, some pampering, some me time. Does that happen to you? You feel like you understand the importance and the value of feeling your most feminine, and you know there's no reason to feel ashamed of being a woman and enjoying everything that comes with that, but then there's still just something hanging on and nagging at you, preventing you from fully living in your femininity completely. So, as you may or may not know, I teach a whole course and a concept that's integrated into all my private work with women called the Princess Treatment Method. And that's basically guiding you through accessing your pure inner princess, because she's the one you were born with and who's able to fully express all your truest desires without shame or guilt or anxiety. So I mean, if you're anything like me, you know self-care is important, and then you go and try to do it for yourself and you're still just like, oh no, like a little bit of guilt, like, am I being lazy? Like, shouldn't I be productive right now? That kind of thing. So if you haven't checked that out though, I still have it on sale for just a little while longer for just $67. And I'll post the link to that. I'm sure you've seen this, but I think this is the right link. We'll see. So I'll give you an example. So the type of question and issue that this method is meant to address is what I really got my juices flowing this morning. So she says, I realized that I never let myself dream of a wedding day, a wedding dress, rings, etc., like nothing. Even typing this, I feel a pit in my stomach, even though I love dresses and flowers and all of that. For some reason, when it comes to me having it for myself, I feel strange, like an imposter. So she's got a blockage around planning and thinking about her wedding, and I can totally identify with this. When I married my husband in October 2018, all I knew for sure was that I didn't want to become a bridezilla and a stress case. I knew I wanted to stay in my feminine, my princessy self, and be taken care of. But that's some of the stress of it, right? Allowing it to be all about you, to ask people to do things for you, to let people spend money on things that you want, like bridesmaids dresses, or if your father or the groom's father or even your husband-to-be, if they're spending money on your vision, that can be a pretty stressful thought, right? So I, just like our sweet girl asking the question, did not have a lot of strong preferences or visions about the wedding details, or at least I didn't think I did, and we'll get to that. Maybe that is not quite true. But I just knew that I didn't want to be stressed out. But I'd eventually have to make a bunch of decisions. So how was all of that going to work out? Well, it was surprisingly easy, actually. When I made the commitment to myself to not allow my stress level to rise above a certain level, it was much clearer how to make decisions or not make decisions and delegate to others. And this is what I talk about in the Princess Treatment Method. You visualize yourself flowing freely in the cool, breezy air with the warm sun on your face, as compared with the heaviness of stress and being in your masculine too much. Your energy gets drained. You're alternating between that and your worried, wounded feminine. So you've got all your guard dogs up trying to control everything, right? Does this sound familiar at all? Let me know in the comments. So I was super glad that I had practiced this in my relationship with my soon-to-be husband, and in my life up until that point. Well, it had only been a few years, if you know my story, that that had changed a few years before before the wedding. So not too long before meeting my husband. But I digress. At least I had some practice before planning the wedding, because when you get stressed, that's exactly when you tend to revert back into old coping mechanisms and defenses, and you try to control. The anxiety and the tension rises, and just not really know, that's just really not how you want to start out your marriage, right? So I had to really surrender to the process. I had to have faith in my husband to be, and the main thing was not blocking him from making me happy, from treating me like a princess. Those things come naturally to him, and I needed to just not stand in his way. And he went right to work, finding a location, nailing down the date, because if I didn't know where we were going to get married and what time of year, like how was I going to visualize? Or like, yeah, where, including like what state, so what climate we would be in. And he had to figure out the date based on the availability of the locations, and knowing that I preferred sooner rather than later. I really wanted it to be before the end of the year when we were thinking about Christmas time and going down to Florida, but that didn't work out. So I really just had to lean back, stand back, let him do his thing, and have some patience, which is difficult. It's not easy, but it is much better than stressing and controlling and turning into that bridezilla that makes everyone else miserable around you, right? So yeah, so he nailed down the location, the date, looked for a caterer, which that didn't end up being finalized till very much towards the end, but I still knew that he was working on it, so I didn't need to take over that. And that's part of the trick, is to not take over when your husband or someone else has that responsibility. not to take it back from them. Because you're not sort of going to get a second chance at delegating, right? If you take it back, if you start micromanaging, then you've already sort of fumbled the ball at that point, right? So he also found a DJ, and of course all of this with my input. He was always asking, my preferences, did I like this or that, and would it be okay? And if I didn't have a strong preference, I just let him know, whatever you think. But being in touch with my own preferences, my desires, and allowing myself to have time when he would, pose to me, I'm looking at this for our DJ or whatever, what are your considerations? Then I had to just sit with that, give myself a moment, and see if anything did come up, any visions of what I did or did not want, so that I could voice that to him. And then trusting myself that when I had that time to think about it, that whatever came up would be what's important and I would voice it. Whatever didn't come up would not be important. And so I could relax after having that conversation, if that makes sense. And then I also trusted that if something did arise that was important, that I would bring it up at that point. Is that making sense? So it's that trust in yourself is what you need to avoid the anxiety. Because if you're constantly second guessing, did I think of everything? You're going to spend all your time researching what other people want, what other people did, and that just adds to the stress, because you can't do everything. You can't have everything. So you have to have that trust built with yourself that what you do want, you will be in touch with. What you don't want, you will be in touch with. And what isn't important will fall by the wayside, and you can allow that to sort of shake out in the wash. So I hope that makes sense. And the other wonderful, wonderful thing, well, so the things that I did have stronger feelings about were like the color scheme. I've always been a color person, and my, of course, if you've seen anything I've done, you've seen this color was the big theme for my wedding, because well, there's a story. I've posted it before. I can post it again, but there's a story behind that color. And so I knew I wanted that, even though it was going to be a fall wedding in relatively chilly climate, and that's a spring color. I would just, when I would have a stressful feeling or thought about that, and I'd ask someone, can I do that? It's, what they always tell you when you ask, can I do that? Or, is it okay if I do this X, Y, Z? All the guidance on your wedding is do what you want. Don't listen to the rules, right? So when I wanted spring colors and light suits on the men, but I wanted my husband to wear a really light suit, and it was like, that didn't go with fall or the cold weather. It's like, who cares? It's what I wanted. So so you really have a lot of freedom when you can allow yourself to express desires. So the colors I felt strongly about, I wanted sort of something a little bit rustic, but also some clean lines and simplicity, as well as the photography. I loved working on the invitations and things like that, sort of graphic design sort of things. So those were the things that made me happy to work on and deal with and think about. So those were the things that I needed to maintain sort of that responsibility for, so that I could have some imprint on my wedding. Obviously, if everyone was doing what I asked them to do, that's one thing as well. But I liked having my hands in a little bit of it. So it's just allowing yourself to balance what you're letting people do for you and receiving and not dictating. So when I was deciding, the things that I wanted, like the invitations, photography, things like that, I would still come back to, well, flowers is another example. I would still come back to my husband with prices and ask him for final approval because, like I said, when you're receiving, you don't want to be dictating. So I didn't, if he's paying or, my parents were paying or his parents were paying, then you want to have a soft touch there, right? You don't want to be that bridezilla that's like, no, you have to spend thousands of dollars on this or that. So everything I teach really coincides with this, I think, and especially if you download the dating etiquette guide, that a lot of what you'll practice in the dating process is what's going to really help you. Just like I said, when you go to get married and in your marriage, all of what you've practiced leading up to that point is preparation. It's laying the foundation. It's how you're ensuring that you're going to have a happy marriage and be able to flow freely, not stress out, not let those old patterns come back to influence and haunt your beautiful budding marriage, right? So it was really, really wonderful. Another part of it, of planning my wedding, that my mother-in-law offered so much help. She purchased decor. She came up with all these ideas of how to decorate that required lots of work from her. She put in so much work. It was incredible. They drove 7 hours with she and her husband. So my father-in-law, he volunteered just as much work as she did, loading up the truck. It was like Beverly Hillbillies, just completely packed, top to bottom. It was incredible. So they rolled into town and just did so much. It was amazing. My father-in-law, he volunteered to bake the cakes, the wedding cake itself. He said he wouldn't decorate it, so we had a decorator do that. But not only did he bake that, but he also baked cheesecakes, I guess sort of like a groom's cake. Not only one cheesecake, but a chocolate cheesecake too. They're just amazingly delicious. And I can't even remember off the top of my head all of the different things they did, but it was just incredible. So that's really the experience you want, is to be taken care of, right? To receive all the love that your friends and family want to offer. And of course, they'll offer help, and you have to take them up on it. If possible, let people love you. This is very important. So in marriage, right? It's a very important part of raising a family and being married, is to be able to lean on your support. So that's another part of what I think it comes down to in this lady's question, is resting into your support system. And whenever I work with married women, it's single women too, but probably more so married women, that resting into your support system is super, super important to your own sanity. Your anxiety level, your stress level is going to be very, very dependent and contingent on how much support you're able to tap into, because generally we're not accessing as much support as we can access and as much love as our friends and family want to give us. So I hope that's a good lesson for our theme and our question of when you have blockages of indulging in your femininity, of taking on those aspects of your femininity that are a little bit scary, they feel a little bit anxiety provoking. Remember how much people want to love you and that you want to receive that love. You don't want to be blocking that love, right? So I hope that that is a helpful lesson to you in how to have a happy marriage and how to tap into all aspects of your femininity and surrender to self-care, surrender to your inner princess's desires. Remember that you want to receive that love, and it's a matter of flowing with it and staying very, very much in touch with your own comfort level, your own preferences and desires, and knowing when the stress is getting a little too high, backing down, asking for help. So please let me know if this is making sense to you, if this is helpful to you, and I would love to help you have the best relationship of your life in 2020. However, we can do that whether you're single or married. So please do not hesitate to set a free intro session with me, and of course, go to the website, download this helpful guide, Garnering the Princess Treatment, Curated Dating Etiquette for Modern Princesses, and you will be on my email list when you do that. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.